Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're wrestling with, well, a bit of a cultural phenomenon. Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Subtitled An Antidote to Chaos.
Exactly. And our mission today is to do a proper deep dive to really extract that core philosophical framework he lays out
This whole eternal messy struggle between chaos and order.
and to pull out the most actionable psychological advice from it, for navigating your own life.
It's such an important mission because the book, right from the start, it just goes for the fundamental human dilemma.
How so?
It asks how you find any kind of meaning or stability when you're being pulled between these two extremes.
Right.
If you go too far into chaos, you end up with, like, paralyzing despair. But if you cling too hard to order, you get this suffocating tyranny. So the rules are basically a map for that narrow path in between.
And what's so strange about where this all came from is just how modern it is. I mean, this didn't start as some dusty ancient text.
No, not at all.
It came from a question on Quora, of all places. What are the most valuable things everyone should know?
That's right. And his answer, that initial list, it hit something like the 99.9th percentile for popularity on the site.
Wow.
The sheer scale of that just shows you how much these seemingly simple rules struck a deep, almost universal nerve. What the book does then is just build this massive philosophical and biological scaffolding around them.
So let's talk about that scaffolding. Before we even touch a single rule, we have to unpack this framework of reality he presents.
Who do?
It really requires us to understand two big concepts, chaos and order.
Exactly. And you have to think of chaos as, well, all the raw, unpredictable reality that's just outside the boundaries of what you understand.
So unexplored territory.
Unexplored territory, surprise, danger, despair. It's also, hidden anger and that formless potential where everything new comes from. It's the eternal feminine archetype in this framework.
And then on the other side, you have order.
And order is the structure we try to impose on all that formlessness. It's the explored territory.
The predictable, the known.
Right. The rules of the game, hierarchy, social structure, tradition. It's quite literally the firm floor beneath your feet. And that aligns with the masculine archetype.
But he's quick to point out that they're not just two opposing armies, are they?
No, not at all. They're eternally juxtaposed. He uses the Taoist yin and yang symbol to explain it. The black serpent of chaos has that white dot of order in it.
And the white serpent of order has the black dot of chaos.
That synthesis is the key. They always contain each other. Your marriage might be order, but then an argument suddenly introduces chaos. Your job might feel like chaos, but your daily routine introduces order.
So here's the crucial question the book raises. Why do we need this structure of rules at all? Why not just live?
Because without it, the sheer difficulty of being alive it overwhelms us. I mean, life inherently involves suffering, vulnerability, mortality. And without a really profound system of value, something you can set against that suffering to make the effort worthwhile, the horror of it all becomes too much.
And that's when nihilism creeps in.
That's exactly when that hopelessness and despair beckons. So the purpose of these rules is to give you, the individual, standing right at that volatile intersection of suffering and potential, a guide.
Okay, let's jump right into Rule 1 then. It's a perfect bridge between that deep biology and the philosophy. Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
Yeah.
If I was hearing that for the first time, I think it's just, my mom telling me to have good manners.
Right, or just about looking confident. But it's so much more than that. It's a direct instruction on how to position yourself inside what he calls the universal dominance hierarchy.
And to show how universal that is, he uses this now famous analogy.
With a lobster.
The lobster, the ultimate example of an ancient system.
Yes. For animals as evolutionarily old as lobsters, or even songbirds, social status isn't some luxury. It's a matter of survival. You have to win contests to get the best territory, the best resources, the best mates.
If you lose...
If you lose, you're pushed to the margins. Less safety, fewer resources. It's a tough world.
And the truly fascinating detail here is how that whole winning or losing posture is just governed by, well, simple chemistry.
Absolutely. The lobster status, whether it's, confident and strutting or cringing and defeated, is literally determined by the ratio of two neurochemicals in its tiny little brain.
Serotonin and octopamine.
Exactly. So if the lobster wins a fight, what happens is the ratio of serotonin to octopamine goes up.
And that makes it physically change.
It chemically forces it to adopt a dominant posture. Flexed appendages, a cocky, strutting attitude. It feels confident, and maybe more importantly, it looks confident, which warns off other challengers.
Okay, but here's the piece of trivia that really makes you stop and think. The neurochemistry that governs this is so ancient
So ancient.
that when humans are depressed, we're often prescribed SSRIs, which block the reuptake of serotonin in our brains.
And those exact same drugs, when you give them to a stressed, defeated lobster,
It has a similar effect.
it has a similar chemical and behavioral effect. The source material just puts it bluntly. Prozac cheers up lobsters.
Wait, so the book is actually suggesting that the fundamental mechanism that governs how we feel about ourselves, how we navigate our social world, is rooted in the same ancient wiring as a crustacean.
That is precisely the insight. It's an astonishing evolutionary continuity across 350 million years. Low status in humans literally translates to low serotonin.
And the results of that are
What? Decreased confidence, higher anxiety, increased stress reactivity. You become hypervigilant. You're always scanning for threats, which just burns massive amounts of your energy.
so standing up straight isn't just a cosmetic fix. It's like a nonverbal command you're sending to that ancient part of your brain to change your own hormonal profile.
Yes. If you adopt a defeated, cringing posture, your brain responds by reducing the very chemicals that give you resilience. You are signaling to yourself and to everyone else that you're low status.
And the consequences are real.
Very real. Higher rates of illness, more anxiety, shorter lifespans, all driven by that constant low-level chemical stress.
And just to hammer home the idea that hierarchy isn't just some human invention, he brings in something called Price's Law.
Yeah, this is a great point. It shows this isn't just biology. Price's law basically states that in any domain, a small number of people will be responsible for the vast majority of the output.
For example,
The square root of the number of scientists will publish 50% of all the papers. A handful of composers created almost all the classical music we still listen to. Unequal distribution is just a fundamental feature of reality.
which makes finding your place in it even more crucial.
Exactly.
So we see how our bodies react to status. But the book suggests our responsibility goes beyond that, to a broader moral duty to ourselves. Which brings us to rule 2. Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping.
And this is where we get into that strange paradox of self-neglect. The anecdote he uses is just so effective.
The one about pets.
Yeah. People are, on average, far more disciplined about giving their dog or their cat its prescription medication than they are about taking their own.
We care more for the animal than for our own well-being. But why? Why do we do that? Is it just laziness?
The book suggests it's much deeper. It's a kind of self-contempt, a way to punish yourself for what he calls secret transgressions,
Meaning you judge yourself so harshly for your past mistakes.
that you conclude you don't even deserve the benefits of good care. You believe, deep down, that you aren't worth helping.
And the antidote to that isn't just being nice to yourself, it's about recognizing your own potential strength.
Including your capacity for bad things? Yes. This is vital. He argues that naive people who think, oh, everyone is basically good, are dangerously vulnerable. They don't understand malevolence, so they can't defend against it.
But when you recognize your own capacity for mayhem and destruction,
Your self-respect increases. You know what you're capable of, but you choose not to use it for evil. You gain the ability to stand up to real injustice because you're no longer naive about what you're up against.
and that assertiveness loops right back to rule 1.
To the confidence to stand up straight, which in turn prepares you for the challenge of actual self-improvement. And that leads us right to rule 4,
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
a rule which is essential because our own internal critic is incredibly good at sabotaging us.
How does it do that?
It picks one arbitrary domain, fame, wealth, whatever, and it contrasts you unfavorably with some stellar person in that one area. It's always comparing your messy, complex reality against someone else's highlight reel. It's a rigged game,
And it just paralyzes you.
completely. So the solution is to shift the metric away from your position relative to others and onto your own personal trajectory. Are you better than you were?
The focus has to be microscopic, then.
And incremental. Instead of, I need to fix my whole life, the question is there one single thing in disarray right here that I could and would set straight today?
Like finally tackling the damn dishes.
Maybe it's just the damn dishes. But that small, successful action, it sets a slightly higher, more competent baseline for you to compare against tomorrow. It's the compound interest of real self-improvement.
And this idea of aiming connects to how we literally see the world. What you aim at determines what you see.
That's the neurological cost of vision. We don't just see the objective world. We filter reality based on what we value. Think of those classic psychology experiments on inattentional blindness.
The gorilla experiment.
The gorilla experiment. If you're focused on counting basketball passes, you genuinely do not see the person in a gorilla suit walking through the middle of the scene.
We filter reality based on our goals.
Yeah.
So if you're unhappy, the book suggests it might be because your aim is wrong.
Exactly. If your goals are petty or based on envy, the world will just reveal itself as bitter and disappointing, confirming what you already believe. The big step is to sacrifice that petty aim to let a whole new world of possibility open up.
By cleaning the dishes, you're signaling to your brain that you value order.
And suddenly, opportunities for creating order become visible everywhere.
That's a powerful idea. Okay, let's pivot from self-mastery to the external world, specifically to preparing the next generation. That brings us to Rule 5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them.
This rule sounds so harsh at first, doesn't it?
It really does.
But it's rooted in this fundamental survival imperative, making sure the child can succeed outside the family. Your job as a parent is to be a merciful proxy for the real world.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. If you, the parent who loves this child unconditionally, find their behavior intolerable, how is the completely unforgiving social world going to react? Their friends, their teachers, their future boss?
They'll be rejected, swiftly and brutally. And the book uses Sleeping Beauty to illustrate the danger of overprotection.
A perfect example. The king and queen try to remove every dangerous object, every spinning wheel, because they're afraid of Maleficent, who is really just negative nature or fate.
And by doing that, they leave their daughter, Aurora, completely naive and weak.
So sheltered that when she finally confronts the terror of adult life, she just collapses into unconsciousness. She becomes Sleeping Beauty.
She chooses unconsciousness over responsibility.
Exactly. The overprotected child has no resilience because they never encountered real boundaries. And that socialization process is vital. Kids are desperate for the attention that helps them become sophisticated players in the community.
So how do you apply this discipline effectively without becoming a tyrant?
The book lays out some clear principles. First, limit the rules. Only enforce the absolute essentials. Second, use the minimum necessary force to enforce them. This isn't about anger. It's about being effective.
And you have to establish that force experimentally.
Correct. You start with a glare, then a verbal command, and you only escalate until the bad behavior stops. Instantly. Because the alternative, like a child running into traffic, could be fatal.
So the ultimate responsibility isn't to make your child happy, it's to make them functional.
Precisely. The final duty is to make the child socially desirable so that other people will welcome them. Because that acceptance into the broader social world is the true foundation of security and opportunity.
You've traced this incredible line today from ancient neurochemistry governing our posture,
to the power of incremental responsibility.
and finally to the discipline needed to prepare the next generation to face chaos.
And it all culminates in this grand message that life requires a profound, difficult choice. The highest aim has to be the improvement of being.
With a capital I and a capital B.
Right. It means constantly trying to align yourself with truth and the highest good to create, as he says, the fully articulated, positive vision of the true individual. That conscious struggle is the only real defense against nihilism.
And the final provocation the book leaves us with is this necessity of making an almost irrational commitment to the goodness of being.
Yes. You have to acknowledge the tragedy of life, the suffering, the limitations, the mortality, and you have to recognize it's made even worse by human malevolence. But you also have to understand that existence itself requires limitation.
It's like that old Zen koan.
What does an omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent being lack? Limitation. To become something defined, you have to accept boundaries. If you're everything, you are nothing. The choice to sacrifice the petty things to pursue the highest good, that is the only thing that can ultimately justify existence.
A profound challenge. The tragedy of the world is undeniable, but so is the profound responsibility of becoming something meaningful within it. If you want to make the world better, don't start by reorganizing the state. Start by ordering your own experience.
That's the deepest dive of all.